One of my pet hates on Land Rovers is continuously taking the prop shafts off. I don't know what it is, I always seem to take them off. I don't know, changing windscreen wiper, take off the prop shafts. Anyway, only joking, or am I? One of the tools I found indispensable was one of these thin walled sockets, long socket. But mine's a 1/2 inch, and I'd really recommend, if you're going to get one of these, get the 3/8 drive, because your gun's going to be lighter and easier to use, and if you put adapters on then it's getting longer and longer, and this is the only tool you need. It's really good because it's a nice snug fit on those 9/16 AF nuts. So prop shaft bolts are a bit of an annoyance, and I've just starting to put together a little kit on my shop for people who do get stuck. Now I know people in the UK and Europe can pick up nuts and bolts pretty easy, but not everybody can. So I've put out a little kit with 16 nuts and 16 bolts, all of the correct size. And because I'm thinking, I have got, when I can find them, grade 8 bolts that go into your LT230 transmission. The silver bolts, like these regular plated bolts, well, these go in your prop shaft, so you can't get them mixed up. Now the thing is, you won't get them mixed up because the ones with the drum brake on the back with the transmission brake are actually longer. See? They're a little bit longer. So the short ones go in the front. It is kind of common fault to have difficulty to get these nuts off. And I'll show you the reason why, because this is a great example. You can see here what happened. The universal joint snapped and bent all the studs over. Same with that one. This makes them extremely difficult to get off. The nut was pretty much chewed up. So how do you get the nuts off? Well, let's give you a little example there. Not a lot of people will show you all these things. You need a good sharp chisel, and if you're doing this, remember always to take the mushroom off the end of the chisel. A nice sharp chisel, and you hit them here on the flat. Not here, not here, but here. Now usually with the tension of the nut they're quite tight, and if you give them a good almighty clout there, they'll crack, and sometimes if you're lucky you can actually split the nut, open it up, and you won't damage the thread. It's practice that'll do that, but honestly it's well worth it because you can do that with all sorts of nuts. I've seen people struggle on for ages, but one really good clout there with a big heavy hammer can split that nut because it's at its thinnest section. And if it doesn't work, well, simply try and turn the nut round 180 degrees or come in from the other side and split it there, and then it should open up. So that's a good hot tip. But this is a real typical example of why I'm doing kits, because if props come off or the nuts get knackered, well, it's a struggle. And of course, where has it gone now? I see quite often that people haven't got the correct spanner for these. These are 9/16 AF, and they are quite difficult sometimes to gain access because of the grease nipple and stuff like that. You can't get in, and so that consequently the flats get worn off, and then they get rounded, and then you're really struggling. Hence, chop them off. Now, so how do we do this? I'm going to show you both ways on this flange. This is the front flange, and you can see it's got a dirt flinger on the flange here to stop dirt getting into the oil seal and the bearing. But how do you get them off? Well, the front one's the actual easiest. So all you need to do is get a hammer. I forgot to bring my hammer, just a minute. Hammer. If you can, if these nuts are already damaged, just tap them like this. See? And the ring comes off. you don't need to use a pry bar. Alright, you don't need to use a pry bar. And then to change the nut, it's just a simple take one out and put another one in. Now on these flanges, they're so designed that you don't need a spanner on the inside, because they're very close to the edge here, so the flat's very close to the edge, so they're like a self-locking nut, and that's why sometimes they are difficult to get off. I know that sometimes people have tightened these up so tight that they've actually rounded this and then it all starts turning, and again, by chopping the nut off you'll get it off. So that's the front one. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? I've already loosened off the nut for the back here, for the rear. Obviously it's got the drum off. You're going to pull that off, and you're going to keep the washer and the felt washer. Obviously these nuts are a little bit different because you don't want these dropping into the drum. So they've got a circlip on them, and they've also got a flange on them as well. So this time you've got to be a bit careful taking this flange off. All you need to do is just tap it lightly on the edge and it'll come off, and I'll show you why. I'll show you how. To get the dust shield off, I just use the dismantling tool I've got in my shop, and just simply tap it at the back, because it's nice and thin to get in there, look, and just sort of pry it. Once you've got a gap, just pry it off, and it's on a little shoulder there, so it easy comes off. That was nice, wasn't it? And the next thing, you need to take this snap ring off. Now these can be a bugger, so a decent pair of circlip pliers. Now I bought this set here. I'll show you. I bought that set, I think it was off eBay, and it's been absolutely so handy. It's been indispensable. It's a nice heavy duty set, and it's on a ratchet so it locks, so they're really good. The little ones, the little feebly ones, just like a pair of pliers, well, they're sent to come off. I have a full set of them, but I just use those for smaller ones. So all you do is line it into the holes. Now this one's a particularly tricky one because there's a bolt at the back. Right, so I've got that just a bit too high in the vise, and there you go. Now I always try to put my hand over the circlips because I never know if they're going to ping off or not. The cloth is sometimes handy. Watch me put it down, it'll go ping. And then it's just a matter of taking those bolts out and putting these ones back in. Easy, eh? Now there is a little bit of a difference because these are deep shouldered bolts, but these are grade 8, so I don't know if there's going to be a great deal of difference because these are stronger anyway. I know that the flanges should run on the shoulder here, but I've used these for years and I've never had a problem with them. So that's it. I mean, I'm going to put that back together again now. For the simple reason, there's no need for me to take it off. So put the snap ring back in, take the tension off the ratchet, pull it, get it off, out the way, and then with the dismantling tool again, tap, snap, crackle and pop. Well, you can't say that now, can you? There you go. Make sure it's in, and then we can reassemble that back into the this flange. Now this is off the this housing is off the back of the NAS Spec 90 because I wanted to change the Speedo drive, because I don't think I've got it here now where I put it. Wait a minute. Just a second, I'll show you. Back again. I couldn't get the drive bushing out of here, so I had to take it out of off the back of the transmission and tap it out with a couple of pry bars and tap it out from inside. It was well stuck. And the reason I took it out was this was the original drive gear, and the drive gear was for electronic ignition engines, and the electronics had two cables with a box in between, which used to be a counter for the service counter that used to put like your service engine things on, so it counted the mileage. Well, I've changed the cable on this 90 to a single piece cable, to do away with that. But lo and behold, I had everything in except one of these. Now I need to change it to a Bluetooth, because, not Bluetooth like USB or Wi-Fi, because the square end on here is too small. And that's the same as the Disco 1s. If you're going to put a Disco 1 transfer case on like the 1.2, you'll find out the gear ratio for this is wrong, because you've got bigger wheels on your Defenders, for example. So you need to change it for a Bluetooth, and the only way I could get it out was to sort of tap it from the inside, if you see what I mean. So that's the reason why I've taken this off. So I'm going to clean it all up. I've already put a seal in the back, but I didn't realise the Speedo cable had gone. Yeah, just while we're on it, that they come in a whole variety of different teeth, but the actual gear drive inside remains the same. So if you want to correct your Speedo, there's a whole host of different gears you can get depending on your tyre size. Right, I think we've covered that, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them in the shop. I don't know if they'll sell, but I have them already bagged up for my own use, so when I do a car and I get really shonky, you know, sort of, where are we on now? If I get shonky bolts like this, I just replace the whole lot, start again. Well, I mean, after all, some of these are over 25, 30 years old. They've been on and off loads and loads of times, so, you know, they're not all that expensive actually, but they're kind of heavy. But the weight of that packet is under half a kilo, so it's going to be good for shipping. Alright, so I hope you got something out of that, and we'll see you again. Ta-da!